We as a society have created this waste stream because humans don't know what to do with it. My phrase I always use, nature has no waste. And this is where we joined forces really with food waste, because I genuinely believe that food waste should never be a waste. And I was talking to...
Unless it's... Unless it's fast food and ultra-processed food.
Said it's fine.
Bleep it out.
We'll bleep that
I don't
out.
want to get sued.
Let's bleep out. Alex, thank you for joining me today in your amazing little plot. Can you introduce yourself and tell everyone, what you do here?
Yes, I'm Alex Montgomery, founder of Generation Soil. We're at our first ever compost hub in the south of Bristol, where we compost household and business food waste from 47 members, I believe. We've been going for 6 months and growing really well. And then I'm doing a PhD on the human-soil connection and trying to shift people's mindsets on soil to more positive connotations to soil and dirt.
Actually, when I first started with Agriton, I had no idea. I didn't understand near enough where my food came from, and I think that's a problem we have with society at the moment. This didn't come about 6 months ago, did it? This whole project. So can you tell us a little bit about, obviously the COVID times, etc., where I found you?
Yes, I kind of got into sustainability around 2019 at the end of my undergrad in geography and became quite obsessed with it because it just made sense. And since then it's kind of been a journey from growing up in a time where the organic food market got villainized and it was a middle class waste of money. So I grew up thinking get the cheapest food because why would you pay more? And from finishing my undergrad to doing food education in primary schools to being furloughed, I was then like, what do I do? And it was a bit of a panic during COVID. I was working at 4 a.m. at Sainsbury's. This isn't it. Did a panic masters, moved to Bristol, got some part-time work working at Better Food, a local independent whole food retailer. Wanted to get more involved with the food system. Ended up doing a chef course at Square Food Foundation.
Nice.
Chefed at Windmill Hill City Farm for 6 months, which was, as far as chef's jobs go, great because it was 8:30 till 5, fairly relaxed, but I just wasn't cut out for it. Alongside all of that, I was studying my master's in sustainable development, dabbling in food waste. Saw Michael Kennard from Compost Club and got obsessed with this idea of circular food and reimagining waste as a valuable resource. And then it's just been a wormhole of exploration since of just discovering the wonder of soil. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it? When you start down that wormhole, no pun intended, but it's
Pun intended.
Pun definitely intended. It's amazing how little we know about what's underneath our feet. And I think it's interesting you said about primary school, because we were talking off camera, obviously my background. I thought the best way to educate people was to educate the kids. And I did my PGC course through COVID times thinking that was going to be my future. And education, for the kids, we won't go too political with this because I know Alex is like, oh, this is it. I could get into a conversation about it. But that naughty child that then went into forest school, who was very calm and placid, there may be some science involved in respects to that. So you were talking on another podcast about different strains of bacteria and etc. And you were talking about smelling soil. Can you remind me a little bit about what you've now found out with kids and soil and how that can help calm people?
There's a lot that can be said about that. I think just even being outside in nature, around green space, fresh air, great. The soil as well, if you're cultivating really healthy soils, you're introducing a huge biodiversity of microbiology. My favourite one is Mycobacterium vaccae.
That's the baby I was trying to get you to say because I couldn't remember it.
and it improves the uptake of serotonin in the brain, which is a neurotransmitter associated with positive mood. I explained that a lot better than the last time I tried doing that.
That was a better explanation. And it took you in one take as well.
Yeah, it's practice. But yeah, if you're getting your hands in the soil, you're populating your skin, which is already covered in bacteria anyway, with beneficial soil microbes. And we've seen a lot in the media about the importance of gut health and the gut microbiome, the gut-brain axis. What about the microbiome of our environment and the places we interact with? If we're not cultivating a healthy external environment, how can we expect to cultivate an internal environment?
Brain number one, brain number two.
Yeah, think with your guts. It just makes complete sense that we need to be more connected, especially with this war on germs and all this, like, oh, we need everything to be ultra sanitized and clean. If you do that, you then provide a blank space for the harmful pathogens, the harmful bacteria, microbes to come in and thrive. So it's getting that knowledge out there, I think.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that we both believe that the education piece is the most important part, because as soon as people kind of understand their benefits of what bacteria and fungi can do to the population without being scared of it. I see mould in your... Do you find that when you're talking to people about your compost, etc., that they look at it and think, is it just mouldy, is it bad, or... Do you find that an issue, or can you get around that?
There's still definitely a lot of people who will come to workshops and I invite them to take a handful and smell it, and they're like, no, we can't get our hands dirty, we're about to eat, or roll up your sleeves, you don't want to get your nice clothes dirty. And for me, the microbial population in this compost, which has been specially curated with the help of Agriton bokashi,
Wasn't paid to do that, thank you.
Why not?
Nah, shh, not yet.
Like, why are you scared of putting your hands in that when you have just touched the door handle in the public toilets or a bus, the tube? You're okay to do that, but not put your hands in soil. There's a perception with the public that soil is dirty, we don't want it to stain our clothes, we need to wash our hands. But if we're cultivating the right environment, we shouldn't be afraid of it.
And that's the thing, is it, again, it's that understanding of what's happening in that process. When I started with Agriton, when someone said, do you understand microbes? And I looked at them really blankly and I said, what are microbes? You forget sometimes at school that you've been educated to do all these kind of things that you can't see, and then in society you forget that they're here. And actually those little dudes that are breaking down the compost or creating processes in the soil are the most important part of it. And one thing I love about what you're trying to do and trying to educate is that we're trying to create that circular economy. So tell us a little bit about what you would see in the future in respect to the circular economy. How can you see it, especially in Bristol?
So specifically looking at the work I'm doing with my PhD, my research is based on case studies from around the world. Surabaya in Indonesia, they've already implemented these community composting hubs dealing with organic waste, which is often the biggest proportion of waste in black bins. In Bristol, there's work to reduce that. We do have a council-led food waste collection initiative, but we're really thinking about creating a truly circular system where not just the materials but the nutrients and the organic matter within that food waste are being fed back into the food system, because we've got to think about the soil health, the decline in nutrient density. How are we recycling those nutrients and feeding them back into the system so we can break free of our dependency on fossil fuel derived fertilizers and pesticides? We're seeing all these studies out there of forever chemicals in the soil, microplastics in the soil, soil degradation. 95% of our food comes from soil. A lot of our medicines, penicillin, antibiotics, all come from soil microbiology. We've known about the importance of soil microbiology in the soil science community, the academic community, for decades. But why is it not out there?
Are you telling me that NPK is not the be all and end all? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
I mean, as a gardener, I was always told that, you have to have the right NPK to grow this or that.
What about magnesium? What about iron? What about zinc? I could go on. These are all things that we need in our bodies, and we're buying magnesium supplements, we're buying all these different pills when look after the soil and it will look after us.
Yeah.
We're seeing environmental problems and societal problems. They're not miles apart. They are very much interlinked.
It's really disappointing when you stick a seed in and nothing happens. If you were going to give someone some advice, what's the easiest thing to grow?
Microgreens are the easiest.
Cool.
You don't need a garden. You can do it on your windowsill. You need very little growing medium.
And tasty.
And seeds. You can harvest them, whack them as a garnish on top. Pea shoot microgreens, sunflower microgreens. Easy. No space required. If you've got outdoor space, garlic's a pretty reliable one. You can put that in the ground now to overwinter and have a load of garlic by spring next year. It's all easy to grow. It's just, how are we growing it? If we're going to the garden centre and buying compost with fertiliser in and buying extra fertiliser to give the plants the NPK that they need, you're going to be locked into that system of buying more and more and investing more money.
Consumerism.
Yes. Or you could get your food waste, pile it up in the corner of your garden, get some really good compost, spread it down, put it in a pot, plant a seed. Going to be way better than anything you've grown from the garden centre.
And more tasty.
It's just the narrative that's been fed and the marketing that's been used to advertise these products, which make primarily companies a lot of money.
And this is the uphill struggle that we find as a company, is that we're trying to use parts of nature and bag it and bottle it to help and facilitate people more than shove a load of NPK down people's throats. And for us, it's all about, if you don't put something into that system, as long as the tools are there for the microbiome to be able to sort itself out. But there are going to be times, and environmental impacts are a big thing at the moment. You know, water is a premium, shade is a premium now, and I see definitely for the future, things like agroforestry are going to be a massive positive. Being able to retain water in soil, and again, a massive, positive. But it's really hard when I'm looking around your allotment here, and actually there's not very much bare soil, but most allotments I see are desolate. They're like deserts, and then you expect something to grow in that. So, what's your thoughts in respects to allotments with bare soil policies, etc.?
I think bare soil is a massive no-no. Should be discouraged. You can be putting cover crops in, you can be putting green manures in. More importantly, you can be putting perennials, and their root systems are going to grow year on year rather than coming out every year and having to start again. By doing that, you're building the underground networks of mycorrhizal fungi, which allows for nutrient exchange underground, water exchange, resource exchange between plants, and you create a much more vibrant, biodiverse, resilient system. It's so easy. Like, it really is simple, but it's in theory, but in reality, there's a few barriers.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing, is it's that disheartenance when you're trying to think about growing things that you want to, I'm going to say, guarantee it to actually then produce something. But we as a society have created this waste stream because humans don't know what to do with it. My phrase I always use, nature has no waste. Full stop. I mean, a rainforest is a good example of systems working in conjunction with other systems and working. And this is where we joined forces really with food waste, because I genuinely believe that food waste should never be a waste. And I was talking to...
Unless it's... Wait, no. Unless it's fast food and ultra-processed food.
Said it's fine.
Bleep it out.
We'll bleep that.
I don't want to get sued.
Let's bleep out. So yes, fast food is definitely a problem in respects to people's understanding of nutrients and also waste products. My family are probably the worst for it in respects to food waste. When they're entertaining, I was putting out this brown bin of sludge, is probably the best way to describe it, from maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And I tried to have a conversation about bokashi, and they were like, why would you want to pickle some food waste? Because the council just take it away and I don't need to worry about it. And that was the problem. Outside our mind. And I think this is a thing with society, is that we need to think not just about the food cycle, but also about how we treat our food as a resource. Because if we don't feed our microbiome in our guts, then we can't feed ourselves. And I think this is when people forget we don't eat, microbes eat. And if we feed our gut biome and feed that microbiome, then actually we will feel better. And it's, I like a beer like anyone else. And I know if I've had many beers, then obviously it causes an issue down here.
Beers are fermented.
Beers are fermented.
There's microbes involved in the creation of beer.
And there's carbohydrates in there. Very simple carbohydrates. Probably not very easy for the microbes to actually then digest and use it as a food source, but yes. But you also get a lot of bloating as well.
Oh, but you get some really nice sponsored studies that say that drinking 1 beer a day is good for you and your gut health.
I have seen many studies of things saying that this is good and this is bad. But
this is sponsored by
bleep, bleep. So yeah, with that food waste cycle, in my household, it's a bit of a competition of how little can we put into that food bin. And obviously, working for Agriton, yes, I do bokashi. My wife does not like the smell of it. Still can't convince her. But I also remind her on a regular basis that picking a chicken carcass out in a brown bin for 7 days and then trying to open it up is a lot worse than the bokashi process.
We've just had a smell in the ride-down composters behind,
which we'll talk about later on.
We bokashi the food waste before it gets here with Agriton bokashi. The buckets, people have described them as smelling really nice and are often pleasantly surprised. Somebody stuck their nose in a composter and said it smelled delicious. So when we mix the wood shavings and the biochar, we then create a really nice smelling mix. And that's food waste. If that was going into landfill, that would be rotting down, getting all hot and slimy and sweaty. There wouldn't be any oxygen in there, and it would turn into this nasty sludge.
And this is the thing, so the government have put this mission to obviously separate food waste into councils. Already councils have started to, I was going to say backtrack, have not had resources to be able to facilitate this. And people like Alex, who's ready to go, with all the equipment ready to go, just needs a little bit of investment if anyone's interested. A little plug there, because I generally believe that these are definitely part of the future, not the future, but part of the future.
Yeah, we can't have an approach where we put all our eggs into one basket. I'm not saying we need to get rid of all anaerobic digesters and compost absolutely everything. This is something that will serve some people, not all people. We've got cities with 20% of the population doing this, and I feel like that's a realistic target to aim for. 20% of food waste being composted with a priority on raw fruit and veg scraps and other less processed foods as well.
Yeah.
It's the way forward.
It is the way
for
forward, yeah.
A big chunk of the food waste stream.
And I think definitely for that circular economy, in respects to nutrient-rich but also microbial-rich compost, I think it will definitely help farmers in the future and also market gardens, etc., to create a premium product. As you can see behind us here, we have the Rydens. Other composters are available. I mean, Jorah's do a very good job as well. They're the two I would definitely recommend. If regulations of the UK were more understanding of education, just, note out there for the people listening, there are other ways of being able to process stuff, and we could put it directly into the soil, bokashi being one of them. At the moment, obviously, with the regulations and stuff, this is probably the best way to tick those boxes. But the quality of the products that you showed me today is bloody amazing, actually. It's really, really good. The smell of it's excellent. It smells like soil. Obviously, we know the science now. There is microbial activity creating that smell. You've had some tested recently, haven't you?
Yes, we've done a fungi to bacteria ratio test, which measures the microbial carbon content, which is way, way higher than agricultural soils. Microbial content could be around 200 to 400 micrograms of carbon. I can't remember the unit, but this stuff is over 2,000 and really fungal dominated, 5.2 to 1 ratio of fungi to bacteria.
So, for people that don't understand this, because I think it's really important, this part, if I'm a gardener or I'm an allotment owner and you're talking about fungi and bacteria, what does that mean? Like, how am I going to see results if I have a better fungi to bacteria ratio? Because remember, these are probably people that are using garden waste, compost that's been dropped off of a council, where they're still picking up bits of plastic.
Highly bacterial. The compost from garden waste and from the councils is generally highly bacterial. You might sometimes open it and find a little patch of mould or some spores or something a bit...
Funky.
Yeah, funky.
Funky.
and yeah, it's more of, I don't think it should be called compost. I think it's more of a bulk substrate, an inert bulk substrate. Yeah. It's often sterilised. The microbial content is really low. This stuff, we've been prioritising the microbial content from as soon as that food is even destined for waste. It's having the microbes multiply through the addition of bokashi. We're then using aerobic processes, really supercharging it. We're mixing it with local wood shaving and biochar. This is just pumping it full of carbon. You're getting your carbon and your nitrogen from the food waste, and you're then getting a really nice balance. And the fungi come in and eat the wood shavings. The reason why it's important to have the high level of fungi, if you're looking at the natural succession of an ecosystem in the UK, you're going from your lichens and mosses to your weeds, so your dandelions and the likes, and they shoot out really deep tap roots, grow very quickly, draw nutrients up from the soil, and they grow best in highly bacterially dominated systems which don't have much biodiversity within them. And towards a fully developed ecosystem. You're getting your trees in there, and you're going from bacterial dominated soil to fungi dominated soil, and annual crops are somewhere at a 1-to-1, 2-to-1 fungi dominated. As you're moving to your more perennial systems and your trees and your agroforestry, you're bringing that fungi in. And the fungi, mainly mycorrhizal fungi, are creating these mycelial networks underground.
So you're saying diversity is key?
Absolutely.
It's like human society, isn't it? Sometimes we forget this in human society. Diversity is key with all these kind of things. And I love looking under the microscope, seeing what's going on. More information you have, the better informed decision you can make. Have you, in respects to the fungi to bacteria, have you grown anything in these to see like a side-by-side trial or anything like that?
I've started some tests, forgot to water them, and haven't got around to setting them up again. So don't have any results other than the tomato plant that we had a look behind the compost bay, which wasn't planted by me. It hasn't been pruned, it hasn't been watered. It doesn't get any direct sunlight because it's behind the compost bay, yet it is producing really nice tomatoes that are ripening beautifully and really tasty and full of flavour. They're growing right by the compost.
So I'm going to put two and two together.
Yeah, potentially. I don't think the soil here was anything special. Before I got the plot, it was covered with black plastic and there was nothing growing in it. I've put so many wood chips down, so we're getting a few mushrooms popping up. So yeah, I think the soil health here, just from this going on, is just
and also
improving.
We forget sometimes that you're looking at the plot here, but it also will have an effect on other plots as well. So obviously that biodiversity will not just be stagnant in this area. So the IMOs, the indigenous microorganisms, will be starting to circulate around the allotment. So good vibes, isn't it? That's what it comes down to.
I think one other really cool thing as well, me and my friend bought our contact microphone down here. We're listening to the compost piles.
Have a listen to Generation Soil's videos. I think actually on YouTube you have a 10-hour soil one, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I tried putting it on last night when my friend was staying, and he was just like,
you didn't get it.
But I find it quite nice.
That's really therapeutic.
Yeah, but we put it in a mushroom on a log round the corner, and we could just hear so much more through the mushroom than we could through the soil alone. And I think that is testament to the mycelial network and the hyphae that are connecting everything together. And don't quote me on this, but I saw something that they kind of act like fibre optic cables, and you get soil microbes which can photosynthesize using the light that can pass through these mycelial networks. This is crazy stuff. Like, I think Merlin Sheldrake's book, he was highlighting, really bringing to the forefront of media around how incredible fungi is. And I think soil microbiology is kind of gaining traction because of that. Also linking to the gut microbiome, and it's really interesting to be working in this field at the moment. It feels like we're getting ready for a big shift.
Yeah, the energy, and we were discussing this off camera. For me, 4 years down the line with Agriton, I feel that the energy is shifting in the right way. Obviously, we've got a lot of stumbling blocks and there's a lot of barriers, but we have enough people now talking about these things to then get people to listen. And I feel that with all the social media and all the presence that's on there, okay, maybe we're both in these fields and we obviously see a lot more than anyone else, but just the general things like Gardener's World, etc., things that Michael did with that, and just general kind of understanding when I speak to the general public, is they're starting to realise that actually there could be some stuff that's happening that they don't really understand and don't know what's going on, but they know they're making a difference. The organic certification, from a personal point of view, has some kind of legs, but unfortunately has a lot more red tape than it should do, really. But I do feel that understand where your food comes from is really important.
Organic's definitely part of the story. There shouldn't be a normal food and an organic food. It should all be organic. But we are here. I'm not overly enamoured with any certification system because there's ways to abuse it, and it's often only the people who can afford to go for the certification who can do it. There's a lot of really good growers doing amazing stuff who can't afford it but are doing better than a lot of organic farms. All of these labels, regenerative, organic, whatever. I think circular food systems, natural inputs, whatever you want to call that. I mean, it fits into the core principles of regenerative, but there is no one set definition that everybody agrees on. We can sit here arguing about definitions, or we could crack on and do the work. And I think there's too much talking and not enough doing.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that, I must admit. So let's talk about your future then. Obviously, I mean, I've been speaking to you for a couple of years now, but the last 6 months, the last 6 months, you have definitely been ramping up. What's your plans for next year then?
I mean, there's so much going on. The food waste collection and composting in Bristol is going to carry on ramping up. We're growing really nicely and sustainably and regeneratively.
All the keywords.
It's going well. The Roots Market Garden off the back of our crowdfunder. We're getting our first beds in. We're putting our wood chip paths down. We're inoculating them with wine cap mushrooms and clover to really get the mycelial networks going and the nitrogen fixing going, and really priming the site for maximum biodiversity, maximum soil regeneration, maximum microbial population, we will be getting crops in the ground this summer towards the end for an autumn harvest, and then overwintering for a spring harvest. And I think we'll be experimenting with a lot of green manures and cover crops to supercharge ready for next spring to really hit the ground running. We'll be getting our irrigation system in, so that's going to be a lot of work.
So I'm hearing lots of pound signs going through my mind at the moment in respects to you need some investment. So come on, let's plug away, because without investment we can't grow. How can people get involved?
How can people get involved? We're asking for local volunteers to come and help us out.
And that will be free?
That will be, free. We are looking to continue generating income from our food waste collection scheme, which, if we continue growing, we'll be able to start paying ourselves. Currently, I'm not getting paid for any of the work I do, which is fine. I love it, but it would be quite nice to support myself down the line. We're getting there. With the market garden, we'd love to be doing corporate days, getting people out there, running workshops, selling produce to communities, providing access to good food for people who can't afford it, being as equitable as possible. We will still have to make it a financially viable operation, and while we can do this on our own, it will take a lot longer than if we can get support. There's lots of ways that could happen. We've still got our crowdfunder running away in the background, so people
Link
can
will be in description, don't worry.
So people can support that. We're also looking at grant funding and potentially some sort of sponsorship or investment to really ramp up what we're doing, spread the message, and really put forward why what we're doing is important, and not just important, essential, I think.
I think people forget that at some point we may not be able to feed ourselves, so we rely a lot on imports. We're an island. I mean, obviously, I do laugh that we're a society on an island and we don't like fish, but anyway, that's a different conversation. But we have enough land to grow things, and I think I see a future definitely if we can convince people to be more seasonal with stuff, which is probably the biggest problem, because you made a joke to me earlier on and go, I can get strawberries all year round. And I was like, yeah, you can, but I don't think it's right. And actually, I don't mind a bit of bulking over the winter with a carbohydrate-based diet. It's fine. I find it quite...
You can live off leeks, you can live off squash. There's loads of veg that you can have going over winter if it's carefully planned. And I think what we really want to do at the market garden is prove or showcase. We've already got proof, but I want to showcase to Bristol, for Bristol, and for other cities, both in the UK and abroad, what feeding an urban population could look like. Yeah. We need to be growing more food in our back gardens. We need to be opening up more space. Maybe not right in the city centre, but peri-urban spaces on the outskirts, potentially on roof terraces. We can be growing lots of food within our cities and utilising the space much more efficiently. We're hearing reports around land use change. We've got strain on housing and infrastructure and farmland, and we could be using spaces for multiple uses. If we're having agroforestry systems, you can have your trees producing fruits and nuts. You could potentially be grazing pigs or sheep amongst them. Chickens, you could be growing annuals. You could be growing your perennials, your berries, and creating a really thriving, biodiverse ecosystem.
Tasty.
That is also climate resilient, because each 1% increase in soil organic matter per acre, you can store an additional 20,000 gallons of water. And
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
this is going to be great during droughts. This is going to be great during heavy rains, because there's going to be less runoff, less flooding, less water being used for agriculture. It's just win, win, win.
So this is I think both of our ask really is people that watch this and people that know people, all we want to do is have the conversations, don't we? We want to have a conversation with the councils, the governments, local groups, etc. to not get them to understand, just educate them, give them the opportunities to be able to listen to what could be possible in these small environments. I still believe that new builds should have allotments. I still believe that new builds should have a composting area.
No, new builds, no. Everybody
No?
needs to be living in geodesic domes, which are, affordable.
Right, you're one extreme to another. We have to do little steps. This is small baby steps to begin with.
Yeah,
I know you want it.
the construction industry is a very polluting industry. Cement
100%, yeah.
and concrete, we need to be looking at more natural ways of living with wooden structures, perhaps. Again, circularity. These new builds aren't going to last like the old Georgian and Victorian buildings. They're going to crumble, but they're going to crumble into materials that aren't going to biodegrade into the soil. If you want a house, it's not going to last anyway, so you might as well make it out of wood that can then decompose and then build a new one next to it.
It's funny you should say that. So me and my wife we're downsizing now to a flat to try and get as much of the mortgage as possible out of the way. And actually we realised that, when people say, oh, it's for the next generation, etc., we don't live in a society like that anymore. We haven't got the tools to be able to pass it down from generation to generation. But what we should be passing down is education and tools and knowledge. And this is the thing that scares me more than anything else with society. And what I would love to see, the education system, councils, etc., is that we're going to lose some core skills. And one of the worst ones is anything to do with the earth and soil and etc. These are ones that are going to be able to feed us for the future.
Just plug in your AI headset and put yourself in a farm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, that's going to feed you through a straw, isn't it? So, but yeah, I think that we, in my background and how I got to this point was that, I worked for a big blue chip company. I won't name and shame them, who are a very consumerism-based company. That I got to a point where I wasn't giving back at all. So I thought, that's right, education, that'll be the way I'll do that. And unfortunately, then I got through a lot of red tape that I couldn't get through and couldn't tick the boxes, etc. And then I ended up just kind of realising I didn't want to do anything apart from, I ended up doing landscape gardening. And it was weird, because I didn't understand at the time that sticking my hands in soil, not dirt, soil, did make a massive difference. And actually when I was in the new developments doing like this lawn, I was putting this lawn down, I think about it now and I think, I'm putting that down and that's never going to grow. There's no way in hell that dirt is going to ever have any assistance. But if we start thinking about how we can help understanding that kind of soil system, I can't see any negative of that.
And I think one thing, like reflecting on this conversation, has been the optimism and positivity, because I think in the environmental space, the climate change space, the sort of social justice space, it is incredibly disheartening quite a lot of the time, and it seems all doom and gloom. But I think what we've discussed here has just been solution after solution after solution, and okay, there might be a few unintended consequences, as there always are with these sort of paradigm shifts or changes, but
Control the controllables, that's the thing, isn't it?
I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I think the only issue I can see is that huge companies aren't going to make as much profit.
Yes. That is the be all and end all, yeah. Localisation, which we both agree with.
We're empowering people, we're empowering communities, we're empowering cities, local groups to have more autonomy and more say in how they live their lives and what we're eating and buying and consuming, and creating a much more grounded society who understands where their food from, who appreciates the effort that the farmer has put in, who knows the farmer they've got their food from.
Respected the land.
Yeah, it's not a million miles away.
Sounds quite hippie though.
You're lucky I've got my shoes on, to be fair.
This is a problem, isn't it? Society thinks I'm really hippie, but that's just because we've now lived in urban concrete environments with no. I mean, both of us are gonna do the
Vivo, sponsor us, Vivo.
Yeah. Just big plug there. But I had loads of problems with inflammation in my knee. Started doing barefoot, and I mean, most of the time I'm in barefoot or at least in Vivos because I feel grounded. And for me, my arthritis is now better. It's not gone completely, but I realised that actually it was concrete and urban environments that caused all the issues in the first place. Just a reminder to people that are in urban environments, all your sickness and all your illnesses could be something to do with where you are. But if you can't change it, you just need to think about your diet and, getting out in nature.
We're working to regreen Bristol. The more trees we get, the lower the temperature, the air temperature is going to be in the city. The positive mental health impacts of seeing green things and life thriving. If we do start getting more green ground in and getting rid of tarmacked areas, better water infiltration, less flooding, more soil, it would be really nice to have a future that is very solar punk and a lot more connected. And I think what we're doing
and
is
happier.
One step of the way. Yeah.
This is the thing. I think people.
Are we sat in front of a computer tapping away, sulking? No, we're sat in a lovely allotment in the centre of Bristol, having a really nice chat about how to make the world a better place.
And I think that small steps with us will then give us big leaps in the future. And I still believe that with the small base projects you have going on here, that the future looks brighter. Final word from yourself in respects to the people that are watching this. Most of my audience are market gardeners, people that like a bit of soil, but actually, from a general public point of view, what would you say if you were going to give someone some advice about how can I make a difference at home? Have a think.
I think just go and speak to a gardener, go and hang out at an allotment, get your hands in some soil, pick some salad leaves and eat them in the garden, and appreciate how beautiful and magical it is that we can keep ourselves going through weird and wonderful, colourful vegetables.
And it's as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't need to be complicated. We try and make these things complicated because we want to, dress it up with whatever. But actually, the simplicity is key.
Yeah.
Alex, it's been amazing. Thank you ever so much for your time. And obviously, I'll put all the socials down below.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.